All right. Hello, everybody. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about strategies for managing imposter syndrome. So if you haven't already seen the first video explaining and really breaking down imposter syndrome, feel free to go and watch that one first and then come back on over here. All right, so as a first step, because imposter syndrome doesn't occur in a vacuum, as we discussed, and it's informed by environmental context, you might want to do some self-reflection and exploration about what may be causing your own unique imposter feelings. You might ask yourself, what in my life or in my environment might have caused me to feel like an imposter? Examine that critical voice in your head and ask yourself, does that sound familiar? Maybe it's someone in your life, like a former teacher or even a parent. Does it align with harmful stereotypes or negative perceptions that the dominant culture holds about an identity you hold? And then ask yourself, what in my environment might be making my imposter syndrome feelings worse? So examine implicit messages you receive about yourself from the spaces and the people that you engage with. Ask, are there any other people who look like me here? How have I been treated by professors or classmates? Does the classroom structure and the material I'm learning affirm and align with my cultural values and my identity, my needs for accommodations, etc.? Really look critically at your environment and how your negative self-evaluations might be informed by racism, sexism, or other forms of marginalization related to the social identities you have. Okay, so once you're able to see where some of these things are coming from and that it is coming from an external source, it can sometimes be easier to disentangle these messages from our own inner voice and reality. So then you can try to more actively reject imposters and imposter narratives created by these external forces and then construct counter narratives that affirm your identities, your strengths, your competence. So one way can be to identify supportive people or places that you feel like that make you feel like you belong. So identify role models on campus, in your extended family, online. Seek out mentorship from trusted individuals who you feel connected to. Maybe they identify similarly to you, and engage in community building. Are there organizations on campus or in the larger community that make you feel like you belong? Really utilize, all of these things that are near and on campus if they have them, and identify aspects of your identity and background that give you strength or help you challenge imposter thoughts and feelings. You might practice some journaling to kind of reinforce this more affirming academic self-concept. So, in addition to some of these external forces and causes, sometimes after so long of receiving these messages, it can start to inform the way you talk to yourself. So, you might develop thinking patterns that don't actually serve you, but they've just become so ingrained that it's hard to even notice them happening now. So let's look at how your own mindset and thought patterns might be helping to feed this imposter syndrome and change your inner dialogue. For example, how are you measuring and evaluating success? How realistic are your expectations for yourself? One thinking pattern that people tend to fall into is all or nothing thinking. So in this context, you might either fail or succeed, and there's no in between. So especially if you have a high bar for success, then if you don't reach that, it means you automatically fail, which doesn't really give you a lot of flexibility for errors. You might also be seeing things through a mental filter that is informed by these deeper rooted messages. So you maybe only pay attention to your mistakes or when something isn't enough and ignore or dismiss your successes. Next, you might jump to conclusions. So if you don't do well on a test, is that evidence that you're always going to fail and that you're not good enough? Or maybe can you start to understand this as more of a situational or a temporary occurrence with the potential for growth? And then finally, if your academic performance is tied to your self-worth, it's going to make the stakes feel really high, increase the pressure, and make every mistake feel like a personal failing. So when you're able to notice some of these thought traps happening, try and reframe or release some of the rigidity in your thinking. One way to do this is to take a step back and examine the evidence more objectively. What are the facts? What are you ignoring, using emotional reasoning about, or overestimating the likelihood of? And if that's hard to do on your own, which it probably will be, especially at first, you might also solicit specific feedback about your strengths and growth edges from someone you trust. And if you have more kind of specific feedback like this, it can help to do a little bit of reality testing as well as ground your thoughts in something more specific that can kind of help avoid the trap of all or nothing thinking with just the good and the bad. So you might also then use this information to help as you reframe things, or even just imagine someone who cares about you and what they might say to then kind of incorporate that into a more affirming self-evaluation. So you might kind of play devil's advocate with yourself, pretend you're talking to a friend, even if it's hard to kind of embody that for yourself um, in the beginning. So, other strategies might be around addressing those dysfunctional work styles that often accompany imposter syndrome and help maintain it, like the over preparing or the procrastinating work styles that we talked about. So, first, work on setting and sticking to boundaries around when you work to protect both work time and leisure time. And make sure that you have balance, that you aren't spending more time than you need working or not enough time doing things that help refuel your energy. This can also help prevent procrastination when you have this schedule and routine that makes space for both rest and work. Next, try and challenge your perfectionist tendencies. Can you try doing 5% less on an assignment and see how it turns out? Or maybe write a messy first draft of something just to get your thoughts out there without being so precious about it. Next, procrastination oftentimes is not just avoidance of work, but avoidance around the distressing feelings that work brings up, the anxiety, the shame, the fear. So instead of avoiding them, work on exploring and understanding those distressing feelings. What are they really about? If you can better manage and regulate those feelings, you might be able to move through them better and prevent that procrastination. And then finally, let's look at your motivation. If your main motivation is fear and prevention of failure, then it can make it really hard to do work. So instead, try to connect with your personal values and passions. What's the reason that you're pursuing this work in the first place? If you're able to work in a way that is working towards something greater than rather than running away from something scary, it can start to alleviate a lot of the stress that comes with work. And so that is all for this presentation. I hope these tools are useful as you continue on in your grad school career. Ultimately, remember that you're not alone in these feelings, and you can always make an appointment at the Wellness Center to receive extra support.